So we'll get started just in the interest that we know that everybody is kind of waiting. Hopefully Gary will rejoin, but I'll just introduce myself in the meantime. So I'm Rob Jackson from Cosmos in the UK, and so we're pleased to be able to demonstrate today the Cosmos reporting and analytics solution. And actually Gary is back. So Gary, I've just introduced myself, so if you want to introduce yourself and
Great. Amazing. Sorry about that. Gary Griffin here. Thank you all for joining today's session. Senior Account Executive at Advantage. Really excited to have this session today with Rob and Fiona. This session, I don't know how far you got into it, Rob, but Cosmos Data Technologies will show you how the lightning fast and easy to use intuitive reporting and analytics platform can help you speed up the month end and improve accuracy to give you and your team clearer visibility across the entire business. Yeah, and then Rob, intro to yourself. I assume you've done that already. So Rob is a seasoned expert in reporting and analytics. So he's got nearly 2 decades of experience in kind of Microsoft Dynamics, NAV, and Business Central. And over the years, he has had roles as end user, partner, consultant, developer. So real, all aspects really of that, the use case, and giving him truly remarkable and comprehensive perspective. So Rob is going to take you through the Cosmos demo today, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end. So please, if you have any questions, pop them in the question box. We'll get to them at the end. But yeah, over to you. Thanks, Rob and Fiona.
Okay, thank you very much, Gary. So the first thing really I want to just focus on today, if you like, not so much about Cosmos, but what are the reporting options with Business Central, and of course most ERPs come with some reporting out of the box. So Business Central has got something kind of built in. We were actually at a conference a few weeks ago, and Microsoft actually announced that I think only 40% of customers actually use the built-in reporting. So there's obviously a big kind of demand for people to report with like an external reporting tool, which is deemed to be a lot more kind of flexible. You may have also seen a lot around Power BI, and Microsoft have invested in some pre-built dashboards for Power BI that hook into to Business Central. But actually, it's quite hard to customize these and maintain the dashboards, and we find that generally customers are after something that is a lot more kind of tailor-made to them, and people start to get going with Power BI but find the data part of it quite hard. So really that's where Cosmos comes in. Cosmos is a purpose-built reporting and analytics solution that has been built specifically for Business Central in the cloud. It overcomes a lot of kind of challenges and additional requirements. For example, if you want to report on more than just the 2 global dimensions within Business Central, if you, let's say, budget outside of Business Central in Excel, but you want to bring that in and report against that with your actuals from the ERP, it might be that you are running multiple legal entities, and that is something that we can achieve with Cosmos as well, reporting across multiple companies from the same data set. Whereas when you're reporting with the BC native reporting, you're very much focused on one company at a time. So we bring, let's say, a lot of additional features and flexibility, functionality. And another example, just one more, is historical data. So if you've basically upgraded to Business Central either from NAV or another ERP, then we've got the opportunity to bring in historical transactions, and we can basically join the newer transactions from Business Central inside Cosmos. So one of the major advantages, you may in the past have used like traditional Excel add-in tools that process reports locally on your machines. Typically, when you are hosting an ERP in the cloud, that process really kind of slows down. And actually, so we've kind of rethought the way that we're basically doing this. We host a service which is all part of Cosmos on the Azure data center platform that really sits right next door to Business Central. So it's the most efficient way really to process reports. So we get a lot of kind of speed advantages through that. and our platform is completely integrated to SharePoint, and that's where the output of the reports are basically stored. So I'm going to run through the main product components. So there's just a few slides, and then we'll spend some more or most of our time in the actual product itself. So so the Cosmos portal is, if you like, the center of our solar system, and you would come into the Cosmos portal basically for any operation, whether that's running a report on demand, whether it's editing an existing report template, setting up scheduling and distribution, that type of thing, and all of the user management and the data management is also handled here as well. So it's basically somewhere where you can carry out all operations. I'll explain a bit more about user security and user roles when we jump into the product, but we have a very quick time to value. So to install Cosmos against Business Central only takes 30 minutes, and that comes with a comprehensive pre-built data model that covers the major modules of Business Central, so finance, AP, AR, sales, purchasing, and inventory, and that comes with complemented with a suite of over 30 pre-built reports that you can get up and running with pretty much straight away after that has been implemented. One of the main key things about Cosmos is that we want to put into the hands of business users a very simple tool set such that you can self-serve, generate report templates and lay out reporting exactly to your requirements without requiring any coding skills, any technical skills, let's say having to go back to your BC partner for for kind of expensive development. And that's kind of complemented also with all of our online learning content, which I'll basically show you. So we have also simplified the way in which you see your Business Central data. So Business Central is a pretty complex database, but we've really simplified that in the way that we actually present your Business Central data to you. So we've already done a lot of work to the tables to make things a lot easier to follow. And again, we'll focus on that. So the report editor is used for designing the report templates. This works both in Excel Online and Excel Desktop, so you can work wherever you choose. And then finally, as well as being able to create Excel reports, we've got the opportunity to use Power BI with the Cosmos data model. So one thing with Power BI is that out of the box, what Microsoft give you is the ability to report against a single company, but it's quite difficult to combine multiple companies. But that's something that you can take advantage of with the Cosmos data model, and we have made it available on our website. You can download a suite of different Power BI data models. Power BI really is what I call a game of two halves. On one hand, you've got the preparation of the data, which we find that a lot of customers find quite tricky. And then the other part is actually building the visualizations. And in actual fact, building the visualizations is actually quite straightforward if you've got the data kind of structured in the right way. So our focus has been to make the data part of it something that we've taken care of. You can download the templates from our website, and then it's a lot easier to build out the visualizations exactly the way that you need. And one other important point is that that's pointing back at the same data set that you're using to present your structured Excel reports as well. So there's kind of parity, if you like, between the numbers that you're reporting on with both of those. So anyway, I don't want to stick in PowerPoint for too long, and I would like to just basically jump into Cosmos itself as an application. So my starting point is just a normal Google web browser. I've got Cosmos saved as a favorite at the top, and this is going to sign me in with my Azure credentials. So everything is going to be exactly the same account that you would use for Business Central, and I've just got a choice here as to which area that I'm going to log into, and I'm just going to log into a production environment, and my home screen is basically loading up, which gives me some report favorites at the very top. So these are reports that I use frequently. My workspace is for reports that I'm editing at the moment. I don't have any of those just now. And then I've got my recent report run history, where I can just open up the output of reports that I've just run. Just a quick piece on security and users. If I just go to this, under the license type, hopefully this is big enough for you to see, but there's two main license types. We have full users and light users, and a full user effectively can do anything within the system. All of the menu options that you see on the left-hand side of the screen is basically every single option that is available. But if I just take Fiona at the top here, if I took away the data model editor role, for instance, then these menu items would basically disappear when Fiona logs in. So people basically see the options that are relevant to the type of user that they are. One of the main differences is that a full user is able to be a report editor, whereas a light user can only be a report viewer. So the idea is that a light user can access a template that's already been built. They can run and execute a report. They can specify their own report filter options. When they've run the report, they can use the drill down capability. So that's really what I'm just going to show you now. So this part of the process is exactly the same whether I'm a full user or a light user. So I'm going to pick the report just here from the home screen and just press run. And this gives me a pop out that basically gives me an opportunity to set filters. So if I want to override this with like a different month, if I want to see the results, for instance, for March 2025. So light users, full users have the opportunity to do this. And I've got an opportunity, if I want to set a budget filter, I can just leave that switched off in this particular instance. And then I press run report. Now, just to reiterate, the running of this report is not affecting my local machine at all. So it won't slow down my local Excel. You can see at the top that there's an activity running, but that is all resources that are running on the Azure data center where Cosmos is hosted. Okay, so I think one of the biggest pain points of traditional Excel-based solutions is that Excel can be really slowed down on your local machine, and that's something that doesn't happen at all with Cosmos. So I'm going to show you a couple of different things here. One is this, which is a report output. And Cosmos has an add-in, which I can just open up on the right-hand side. And this will just give me some context about any of the aggregates that I've got on the report. So if I want to see, okay, what were my expenses for, let's say, entertainment or something like that. So what I've got listed out in column E is my actuals for the period. In column F, it's the relative, so it's the same calculation, but for the prior year. And then this is just a variance between the two. So this is a simple Excel formula, just taking one number away from the other, and you could show that as an amount or a percentage or something like that. And then that just carries on with other fixed columns for the budget and a variance against that also. Within this section here, when I'm clicked on an aggregate in Cosmos, I can see some information, really easy to understand, that under the general section, this shows that this is a sum of the amount field from the GL transactions, and we've applied a reverse sign. So that just means that things get presented correctly on a P&L statement. And under the filters, this will be kind of context sensitive as to where it is that I'm clicked on the report at the moment. So this will just be filtered to account number 61200, which is for entertainment. And if I just come to the viewing tab, I've got the opportunity here to drill down. So if I want to see all of the transactions that sit behind that aggregate, then I've got the opportunity to basically do that here. So I could do some other analysis here, sort everything in, I don't know, ascending to descending order, do a pivot table from here or whatever I needed to, just to do some ad hoc analysis. In column E, you'll see that there is a company field. And this is really Cosmos's ability to report on multiple companies at the same time. So when we implement Cosmos, we connect to a Business Central environment and we just choose the companies that we want to bring in. What we could do is run a report just filtered by a single company, we could aggregate data together from multiple companies into a report, or we could set the report out such that you get a separate worksheet, let's say, per company, and you can separate the information like that. So it's completely flexible. You can report on all companies, one company, a subset of them. Okay, so that's really important to highlight, because that's something that is kind of impossible to do with Business Central reporting. So this is an output. You can see at the top here, this is actually saved to a SharePoint repository. So Cosmos is integrated to SharePoint, and this is the experience that you would get when you actually run a report. Within the design of the report template itself, so for full users who would actually edit the report template, what I'm going to do here is just check out the report template. And you can see kind of previously, these are different versions that I've checked in. So if I've made a mistake and I want to restore back to a previous copy, then I can do. So I'm just going to check out, and then we'll just have a look at the template of how things look. And on the very first sheet, this is a dates formula calculation, and this is what calculates my relative date calculation for the prior year, which is shown in the actual report in column F. So this is, if you like, the skeleton of how things are basically laid out. If I open up the task pane this time, let's make this a bit wider, you'll see that I've got the toolbox here, and this is our 7 tools. So it's a very compact toolbox, but very powerful. And these are the things that you would use to actually build out the report template itself. So if I just focus here, for example, on the range lists, and each of these are the selection of the report. So if I select the first one for revenue accounts, this is the function that's listing all of the revenue accounts here. The same for cost of goods sold, the same for expenses. And if I just focus on one of the aggregates that is sitting here, I've got one which is here for the current year, and this is just very similar to what I just showed before in the drill down. So everything works kind of dynamically. So if you imagine within the report, if you were to add a new account number later on, say 44,150, Cosmos will generate one more row, right, the next time the report runs. So so it's very dynamic from that point of view. So this example, I've got dynamic rows but fixed columns. And when you're designing all of these report templates, you're supported by our very friendly Captain Cosmos, which is something that you can use natural language to ask questions about a specific topic. So if I want to ask a question here to say, well, how do I add filters or something like that? This is hooked up to our knowledge base, and we've got a really comprehensive knowledge base of free training videos, articles, and short kind of walkthroughs about particular things. And you can access that either via this, where it will give you a breakdown of a topic, or directly from the portal, I can just come to my user, just come down here to training, and this will basically give me access to training videos. And again, I could just put in here filters, for example, and this is just another way which I can get to the same information that would give me like a short walkthrough video. So these are bite-sized videos that you can walk through, and then further down it will just give me a walk through the topic. So this is very well documented, and the idea is, again, that business users can use straightforward tools supported by online content that is helping them walk through the actual process as well. So we've taken a look at running reports manually, how we actually just touched on how we build the report templates, the fact that Cosmos is taking care of all of the version control. And actually back in the report itself, if I wanted to share this report with another user, then I can do so. So if I just come back to the same report template that we've just run and just come to permissions, these are 2 fictitious users, but if I want, for instance, to give access to this guy here, then I can do. And actually what's happening in the background is that the permission has been set in SharePoint. So all of these report templates are actually stored behind the scenes in a SharePoint repository, and that's really where we've got tight integration too. So if I go to the SharePoint, this is basically exactly the same view that I just had, And if I just come to that report that I had, well, that's what I've got currently checked out. And if I look at the security there, then you can see that my 2 users there have got view access over the report. Okay, so when we set permissions in Cosmos, the same thing is happening in the background in SharePoint, and we can leverage a lot of the functionality of SharePoint. So, for instance, if you accidentally deleted a report, then you can restore that from the recycle bin within SharePoint. It might also be for an organization that you've got sensitive data, and under row level security, this is an opportunity to basically set. So again, for this particular user, he is only able to see general ledger transactions that are for a specific company. So although my data model might have more than one company's information in, if this particular user logs in and runs a report, it will be impossible for him to see data from a company that he's not authorized to access information on. Okay, now one really important thing is to automate the distribution of reports. So if I just come here to schedule jobs, we've got the facility to be able to. So if I take this one here, for example, we've looked at a finance report, but this is a sales report. And if I just look at the setup of the schedule, you can see here that I've just got a name of my scheduled task, the fact that it's a report run. I've actually got this disabled at the moment, but for instance, you might set this to run on a daily basis for every weekday at a certain time. The report configuration just points to a particular report template that we wish to execute, and then you can set filters. So in this particular example, this report actually splits out a separate worksheet for every single salesperson, but in this situation, I only want this sales report to run for one particular salesperson, which is JM for the year 2024, and I'm the email recipient. So just to kind of show you this, if I run that job on demand, or indeed I could have just activated that and have that running on a schedule, that would just trigger the process in the background. And then in short time, I'll receive an email with the attachment. And one thing important to note is that when you set up scheduled jobs with an email recipient, this could be any valid email address. So it could be somebody within your organization. It could be somebody that is a customer, a vendor, that type of thing. And there's nothing to stop anybody opening up an Excel spreadsheet that is just attached to an email with the report output. So I'm just going to my inbox, which has just gone ping, and I'm just going to drag across. Okay, so this is the attachment that I've just got. So I've got sales report here for JM, and what I can do is, spare me 2 ticks. I can just double click this and open up the output of the report. And in this particular example, again, I'm just dragging this across here. So you can see, so in the full version of this report, I've got one sheet for every single salesperson, but this is just focusing on one person here. And this is just listing out customers in one direction and months of the year in the other direction. So it just shows me the total sales that person has basically sold. So whether we want to look at information in a structured format, which is still the most popular format for things like financial reports, or whether we want to look at things in a more graphical format in Power BI. So what I'm going to do is just pull across an example of a sales dashboard that has been built using the Cosmos data model structure that I've explained that you can download from our website. So on the right hand side here, you can see the tables, and this is connecting to the Cosmos data model. And just to give you an example, this sales transactions table comprises of about 15 raw tables within Business Central. Okay, and that's the part that I think business users find really hard to understand. So what we've done is basically put everything that represents a posted sale, including invoices, credit memos, all of the detailed cost entries, into a much simpler table called sales transactions, and all of the other tables are things that we want to split those sales by. So if I look at the data model view here, I'll just make that just kind of slightly bigger. You may not be able to read everything, but in principle, in the center of this data model is my transactions table. All of my invoices, credit memos, cost entries are in here. And all of the other tables on the outside of my data model are my dimension tables. So simply put, if I want to look at my sales information by location, by date, by salesperson, by company, by dimension code, then I've got the ability to do that within the actual dashboard. So I'll show you that working. And at the top here, I've just got different selectors based on just a subset of some of those dimensions. And this is really what allows me to filter by a different salesperson. I could focus on an individual company. I could home in on a particular year. I could look at a certain category of product, and everything kind of adjusts immediately. And this is a brilliant environment to allow people to kind of play, if you like, with the data and to actually find insights into the organization as to where specific trends might exist, that type of thing. And one thing that I mentioned that's really important is making sure that this information ties in exactly with the data that we've got in our Excel report. So if I filter here, Jessica Monroe and the year 2024, which was the exact same report that I ran in Excel, you can see here the total sales for that year is 4.060 million. If I come back to my Excel report, look, you'll see I've got exactly the same number in the report at the bottom there. And that isn't a coincidence. That's just purely for the fact that we're pointing both Excel and Power BI back at a consistent set of data that is governed, controlled, operates by the same set of rules, and we are just using Excel and Power BI as our presentation layer as to how we send things out to an organization. So this is Power BI Desktop. You may have worked with this before, but you may be familiar with the fact that once you've designed something, you would publish things up to the Power BI service. And within the Cosmos portal, we kind of complete the loop. So here, if I just go to the Power BI section and just select a particular workspace, I can actually access exactly the same dashboard directly from the Cosmos portal. So the idea here is that users have got a single point of reference for reporting. Incidentally, you don't need a Business Central license to be a Cosmos user. So if all you're doing is consuming business data, then that's something that you might just require a Cosmos license for. But this basically allows me to do exactly the same analysis within the screens, if you like, of Cosmos without actually leaving the portal. So the idea is that people have got a one-stop shop. They can access reports that are structured in Excel. So this is where all of the report templates live that can run either on demand, by schedule, or indeed, if you want to look at the Power BI dashboards, then that's where we can access that in quick time through the actual portal itself. Okay, I've covered a lot of topics there. I'm sure that there may be some questions later on. So I'm going to ask everybody to kind of think about any questions that you might have. I'm going to run through just a couple more slides and then we'll kind of open up. And I think, Gary, you're going to see whether you've got any questions, and we'll answer those or come back to you. But before we just do that, this is some customer feedback that we've had. These are all real people. For instance, Aoife, I've just finished a project with at Whitehorse Insurance, really nice lady, and this has been a brilliant example of how Aoife was using dimension codes for specific insurance products, and we just needed to build some reports that basically splits all of the sales and financial information out by particular category, and this has really saved hours of time in things that that people have done manually. You can see here that Amy, for instance, here, right, used to take half a day and a separate laptop purely to run all the Excel reporting. But with Cosmos, you just don't need any additional kind of infrastructure, laptops, or resources to do that. Again, all of our reports are executed on the cloud. And if you don't believe me, then you can always just ask Copilot. I think a lot of people are using this now. This is just a fun thing, but just to say, what is the best add-on financial reporting solution for Business Central? And if Copilot says that that's correct, then that must be true, hopefully. So, Gary, I'm going to pass back to yourself just to see whether you've got any questions come in, and then we can hopefully answer those live on the call.
Perfect. So I've got one question here. Where is my data stored?
Okay, so data is basically stored in the Azure platform. You can think of it pretty well exactly the same as Business Central. We've got a dedicated Azure SQL environment for every single customer. Just to reiterate that that is all completely secure, very much like Business Central. We don't give direct access to the database. You can only access that either through the API to Cosmos, or via a Cosmos report, or via the actual Cosmos portal itself. There's like a data query tool that you can use within the actual product itself. So, so the architecture of Cosmos is pretty simple. Well, pretty similar, if you like, to Business Central, and the data, incidentally, is always stored in the same region where you're located. So I'm going to guess that most people on the call are in the UK, so the data will be hosted and everything will be executed from the UK South Azure data center.
Great. I've got, how does Cosmos know about custom tables and fields in my environment?
Okay, so that's a really good question, and something that is otherwise quite difficult to get to. So we've got a purpose-built connector. So Cosmos, like I said before, is purpose-built for Business Central. So when we do the implementation, and you can look on AppSource, there is a free Cosmos application, which is effectively a connector. We install that onto your Business Central environment, and then the Cosmos portal, if you like, speaks to that. And we can see every single table and field specific to your environment. So whether that is a standard Microsoft table and field, an extension that you might have had Advantage write an extension for a custom table, or it could be that you've used other products from AppSource where you've installed something and you want to be able to report on some of that data. So we can basically see any table and field that is specific to your environment. And equally, like, we've also got the capability, I don't know whether I've mentioned this before, you can have one Cosmos environment and data model. We have some customers that have got a UK and say a US Business Central environment, but they want to bring both of those together within the same data model and report from Cosmos. So we can also do that as well, Gary. So.
Great. Then next question is, if our GL codes aren't in set ranges, would this cause a problem? So for example, 1,000 to 2,000, but excluding 1050 and including 2,300.
Yeah, so the examples that I've basically given, the report example that I showed, basically showed individual general ledger accounts being listed out. Okay, if you're using other things to basically group accounts together, so we've got a lot of customers, for instance, that use subcategories within Business Central. So don't worry too much about the exact layout of the reports that I showed. It might be that you want to list out instead subcategories in a particular order, or it might be that you want specific rows that have got a range of accounts but excluding others, for example. But so on the sales report, I was listing out customers. On the financial report, I was listing out general ledger accounts. I could be listing out subcategories. I could have fixed rows, fixed columns. It's completely flexible as to how you want to design the reports.
Okay. Another one. Do you work with the reseller to provide support, or can the user contact you directly?
Yeah, so Advantage would be the first port of call for the help desk. So that will be in line with how you contact Advantage for your Business Central support. If, for example, there was it's unusual, but if there was any reason to kind of escalate something to Cosmos, that would typically come via Advantage.
Great, and I think that is all the questions we have for today. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Rob. That was really insightful. Thank you all for joining today. If you have any further questions or need any further information, or would like a bit of a more private session with Rob and Fiona, please reach out to us at hello@advantage.co.uk. But yeah, thank you all for joining. Have a great rest of your day and hope to hear from you soon.
That's great. Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.